Hey guys, before we get into it, this episode is brought to you by Ruby and Ray camera bags. And I just want to say that I don't personally recommend products that I don't already know and love. So when I tell you that these bags are incredible, I really mean it. Now, personally, I own the Ruby backpack in black, and I also have their limited edition checkered sidekick bag. Now, aside from the fact that these bags are just incredibly functional and fashionable, I love that you can also pull the camera padding out of the bags and just use them every day. Ruby and Ray is generously providing an exclusive offer to my listeners, so you can save 10% off on all Ruby and Ray products in their online store. Just use the code between the frames 10 at checkout. I will drop the code and the link to Ruby and Ray in my show notes. Okay, without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Between the Frames, and welcome to my bedroom. Such as the life of an entrepreneur working from home, it is sometimes very challenging to find a quiet place in which to work. I have been disturbed by many doorbell visitors today, so my husband is also roaming around the house. I'm just trying to find a quiet room. But welcome to my bedroom. I did hide all of my daughter's stuffies. If you are watching the video, usually the shelf behind me is just filled with stuffies, but I felt like they would be a little bit distracting. So they're on the floor. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about how you plan a photography session in a location that you've never been to. And especially when you're not going to have the opportunity to go to that location because it's far away and it's just not practical. So, I'm going to share my experience with that because very recently I had two sessions actually in the same week where one was in Winter Park and the other one was in Estes, so around the Lake Estes area. We ended up going into Estes Park. And yeah, it was definitely felt a little bit stressful and a little intimidating to try and kind of map out all the logistics of those sessions, having never shot at those two locations. So I just thought it would be a really helpful episode for some of you out there so that you don't have to turn away sessions because you are feeling intimidated about that. So I'm going to share with you the tips and tools that I use so that I can feel confident about those sessions. Okay, so Winter Park was an extended family session. So already felt kind of pressured about that because they're on vacation. It's like the one time where all the families are together. So I always feel like I don't know. Photography sessions do feel somewhat pressured because of that reason. Like you are creating memories, you're documenting a family's time together or a couple's time or whoever it is that you're photographing. And so I do think inherently there is always going to be that pressure that you have as a photographer. I don't know. I don't think I'm alone here. But yes, you're going to have like those little nervous butterflies like, oh my gosh, I hope I do a great job and really provide them with photos that they'll want to put on their walls or, share for years to come. So added pressure, many families coming together. It was the parents or the grandparents, I want to say 34-year anniversary as well. So just a lot of things going on that made me feel even more kind of stressed out about this session. But yes, also it took place in Winter Park. Now I have been to Winter Park quite a few times, but I've never really kind of considered it from the point of view of, okay, well, where would I shoot if I was going to do a photo session here? And one of the things I kind of quickly learned about Winter Park is that although there's a lot of beautiful views, there is also a lot of open meadows, but they're all fenced off. So essentially private property. And yeah, I don't want to be breaking trespassing laws as a photographer. So yes, just trying to figure out logistics of locations was hard. I also wanted to make sure, since this was a big group of people with little kids as well, that we were not going to do anything too crazy that required a long hike. So I do think if you are going for a couples shoot, then you immediately just have more location options available to you, because if your couple is open to the prospect of hiking for a little bit, then you can hike for like a mile or so from a trailhead and just have the most gorgeous views. So I was coming across a lot of options like that in my research, but not necessarily like quick, just like off the side of the road type options. So let's backtrack a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but if I ever get asked to shoot in a location that I've never been to before, I immediately go on Google and see whether any photographers have ever done a blog post about it, whether maybe they even mention a specific location. And with the way that Google is now for searching and how it has AI built into those searches, you can be really specific with your question and what it is that you need answered. And you're going to get the Google searches, but you're also going to get Google's AI assistant coming back to you with information. And so it's kind of crawling all these posts and really trying to be specific for your needs, which is just, it's actually incredible. It blows my mind. And I know some of us are AI skeptics, but from this point of view, I mean, it's so, so helpful. So that was my first jumping off point, going on Google. And honestly, I feel like I was kind of preparing for this session like at least 2 months in advance, whenever they booked it with me. And a couple of locations came up repeatedly, so I did note those down. And then I decided to just kind of layer on some more research on top of that, because I really needed to figure out lighting at those two locations so that I could give the family an idea of when I felt would be the best time of day for us to do the session. Now, keep in mind as well, it's summer, so this was quite tricky, but fortunately, my clients, there were only 2 kids and they were quite young, and for whatever reason, their bedtimes are super late right now. So it actually worked out perfectly. We were still able to do a golden hour session. So after I did my Google research, I then used Google Earth Pro, which is a fantastic tool to kind of assess the locations that were coming up. So I don't know if you guys have ever used Google Earth Pro. You can download the application, so it's on your computer. And then you basically just type in a location and it gives you like all the satellite imagery and like the Google bird's eye view of that location. But you can actually zoom all the way in and then it'll pull up a 3D view. So like you're actually there at the location. The other thing you can do, if you zoom back out from being like, I think they call it street view. So if you zoom out a little bit from street view, you can kind of drag the view up and around. And basically, you can search for where the sun is. So I will always set the timer. This is the other thing you can do. I'll set it to the date I want. So it'll be in the future, my future session date. And then I'll set the time of day as well. And what it'll do is it will show me where the sun is going to be positioned in the sky at that time on that day, which is wild. Now, is it 100% accurate? I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's a little off, but it's pretty damn close. So, Google Earth Pro, this is your friend. Go and download it. I just use a free version. For sure, there is a paid version, but the free version is kind of working well for me. So that was what I would use in advance. There is another app that I have on my phone that I also use. You can kind of use it in advance, but I feel like it does a little bit better when I'm actually on the ground. So if you're ever arriving at a shoot super early, you can use this app. It's called the Sunseeker app. And what it does is it also tracks the path of the sun. So it will give you, again, a pretty accurate representation of where the sun will be in the sky at a particular time. Now, I will quite often use this app For example, in the fall, if I'm planning mini sessions at new locations, I will go to the location that I have in mind. Keep in mind, it might be like a month before, and so I'll be at the location, I'll hold the app, and it's using your camera, but on your camera imagery, it's charting a path of where the sun will be. So you can set the date, set the time, and it'll show you, okay, the sun is here now on this day at this time, but on the day you want in the future, it's going to be over here. And it's so cool because the sun really does shift quite a lot, and its position just behind the mountains and everything in Colorado, it does shift quite a bit throughout the year. So I feel like that tool is just so, so helpful for helping me figure that out and just kind of thinking in my mind, planning in my mind, okay, so if the sun's going to be over there, what am I going to do? Am I going to sidelight my clients? Am I going to backlight them? What am I doing? What else is going to be in the background? Just figuring all those things out in advance so that I can go into my session feeling confident and prepared. So I do recommend using all three of those tools. So Google with the AI research, but definitely look at people's blog posts as well. Then the second one was Google Earth Pro. And then the third one is the Sunseeker app. So for example, for that winter park shoot that I did, I used all three. And when I got to the locations that I was planning on using, I got the Sunseeker app out and again, just kind of verified where is the sun going to be later on today. Okay. So that was Winter Park. And let's talk also about my Estes Park session, which actually took place at Lily Lake, super beautiful location. So similar kind of logistics. It's roughly, let me see, an hour and 20 minutes from my house. So a little bit shorter than Winter Park. It definitely felt more manageable, but again, not somewhere that I have time to just go and visit one random day and come back again. Like it just wasn't super feasible. Also, with everything else I had going on leading up to the session. So I had to do a lot of reconnaissance in advance. So I used those same strategies. And one of the other things I was having to figure out was whether or not Lily Lake was going to be affected by the timed entry reservation system that Rocky Mountain National Park has, which it wasn't. But it did have a parking fee, which I believe could be covered by a annual parking pass for the parks, or you can just pay on the day, which is what I ended up doing because we're not spending a ton of time in the parks right now. Maybe next year when my kids are a little bit older, if that's something we're doing, then maybe I would already have that pass. But yeah, it made me realize that I was going to have to purchase a pass, and also what were the logistics for that? Did I have to buy it in advance? Because could I pay at a kiosk there? So again, I mean, we're so fortunate to have all this information available to us online. I really think as photographers, it makes our jobs a lot easier. But I will also say that it's not all technology based. So I was on the retreat in Crested Butte before I had these sessions. So I was able to talk to other photographers who, a lot of them lived near me. They're kind of in the Denver area, let's say. And they were happy to kind of back up my findings for me and reassure me about some of the questions that I had. So I do feel like, yes, a lot of photographers are gatekeeping information, and I do understand why. But I do think, it doesn't hurt to ask. Some people are more than happy to help you out. And I was very grateful that the photographers there, a few of them were giving me some tips and yeah, just helping me feel confident about the information I had already found out online. So, if you have a photographer friend, then ask them because yeah, they've probably had that experience. So hopefully they'd be willing to share it with you. I will say about Lily Lake, I mean, there's a ton of stuff on Google because I feel like that is such a popular spot for couple shoots, engagements, things like that. I will say that the Google Earth Pro imagery for that one, I think it must have come from a time when maybe snow was on the lake or it was frozen or something. So it was kind of looking a bit strange. With my Winter Park session, I don't know, even though I did all that preparation in advance and research, it wasn't until I arrived at the location that I was fully aware of where exactly the sun was going to be setting. And I don't know, maybe my just like compass in my head of, okay, this is north, south, east, west was messed up. Because I feel like where I live right now, the sun always sets behind the mountains, so that's the west. But there's like a lot of mountain ranges up by Winter Park, and to me, it felt like the sun was setting in the south. So maybe it was southwest, but it was way further down than I expected it to be. So that was kind of interesting. But again, that was part of the reason why we plan ahead and why I use multiple apps. Also, I haven't mentioned this. For any location where I've not been able to do a full scouting mission in advance, I will make sure that I give myself plenty of time. So I will arrive well in advance of the session and do my scouting then, just to be sure that the locations I have selected are going to be okay for the session. So, for example, the Winter Park one, I think we were planning on getting started around 6:15, 6:30, something like that. I arrived in Winter Park around 2:15, I want to say, so like 4 hours in advance. Now, that might seem like a kind of long time gap, but actually, on weekend traffic is a real thing. And had anything gone wrong, I would have given myself a nice big window of time there just in case something went wrong on the roads. And then, two, I actually did need a lot of that time. I think I had about an hour spare in the end because just kind of driving to and from the different locations that I had picked out and then walking around at each one, all of that takes time. And then, yeah, just stopping, like going to use a bathroom, getting more water, all those things, like it just adds up. So honestly, I did only have about an hour spare. And then I wanted to go to the store and grab some things because we were trying to do like a whole picnic concept. So truthfully, like give yourself way more time than you think is necessary. Similarly, for the Lily Lake session, I think I turned up 45 minutes to an hour before that session. I knew the lake was small and that we weren't going to be using the entire perimeter of the lake. So I knew I didn't need to turn up super early, but I still wanted to be there early. Again, traffic and yeah, just giving myself that opportunity to actually walk around and figure out which specific spots I like the look of around the lake. So bottom line, I think there is a lot you can do in advance, and there are tools, the ones I mentioned before, the Google Earth Pro, and then the Sunseeker app that can get you pretty much 90% of the way there. And then just turning up early in advance of your session to make sure that that location is actually going to work, that there's nothing new there that is, I don't know, just making that location undesirable, and always having backup options as well. Don't go into a session like that without having some backup options, because if your location does not work out for whatever reason, then yeah, you need a backup. I think that just goes without saying for any session, like you need to have a backup. I know one time a photographer friend couldn't do a session somewhere she'd planned because there were cows there. And I think there was literally a sign saying keep out because of the cows or something like that. And they had to really quickly change location to somewhere else nearby. But things like that happen all the time. I once had a session where we couldn't use the location because there had been so much rain that the trail was just an absolute disaster with mud. And so the parks and open spaces did not want us walking on that trail because it was going to be destructive. Also, I don't want to do a photo shoot on a super muddy trail. So, yeah, I think always have a backup option for locations. And yeah, I think be confident. There's a lot you can do to prepare yourself. Don't be afraid to ask another photographer. You can always ask me. I may not have shot there, but I don't know. I am always willing to help people out. Like yesterday, I don't know what's in the water right now, but I am getting so many engagement and surprise proposal inquiries. It's so fun. I love it. And I love couple sessions. But yeah, so someone reached out yesterday. It was crazy. Reaches out yesterday, wants to do a surprise proposal this weekend in the Georgetown area. I'm actually heading out of town this weekend, and so I couldn't do it at all, but I was like, "Oh my gosh, so excited for you. Let me see if I have any photographer friends who can help you out because I know what it's like. Like, I'm stressed for him. He's decided for whatever reason that this weekend is going to be the weekend, and now he's scrambling last minute to find a photographer." And I was just like, "Why don't I just make things easy for you? I'm going to drop some messages into some group chats that I'm in, and hopefully someone responds and I'll just connect you guys." I like helping people. I like being helpful. So, you can always reach out to me, but yeah, don't be afraid to ask. The worst thing that can happen is someone will say, "I'm sorry, but I don't want to share that location," or I don't know, whatever. But we got to get uncomfortable with being turned away or a little bit rejected and just respect somebody else's decision not to share whatever it is. So don't be afraid to ask. Yeah, I'd love to know whether after listening to this episode, I hope you now feel like you can go and try those tools out and that now you don't feel like you would have to turn away a session that is, somewhat far from home. I'm also curious, what's your limit? Like, how far are you willing to travel? Obviously, if you're into like destination elopements, you're probably willing to go pretty far. But let's say family sessions, Winter Park is kind of far and definitely probably the furthest I want to go in one day. It was around 2 hours, I guess, with traffic. Yeah, I did do a Twin Lakes elopement earlier in the summer, and that was, I think that's about 2.5 hours each way. Yeah, that's probably like the upper limit of how far I want to travel. Again, it depends on what time you're finishing your shoot because driving home in the dark is not my favorite. But yeah, I kind of just love that I have these tools available to me and the confidence to be able to go to these new locations. It's an adventure and I have such a good time doing it. So I really want you guys to be able to do that as well. So let me know. I hope that you take up a destination session sometime in the near future. Let me know if you do. All right, that's all I've got for you today. It was a short one, but I will be back with more very soon. Bye.